Sir, tell me about your journey from IFM to this role.
Uh, After IFM, I joined a research think tank called TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, based in Delhi. Though I spent quite some time in various field offices of TERI, um, like in Uttar Pradesh. After that, I did that for 7.5 years. Then I moved to UBC for my PhD, which took me around 5 years, and then I went to Columbia University, where I am currently doing my postdoc. Um, yeah, so it has been pretty fast 13 years. I passed out in 2007, and it's 2020 now.
Key milestones or learnings in this journey that you would like to share with us.
And if you talk about milestones or learnings, I think each phase of my career they provided me different things to uh, focus on. For example, in IFM, when I went to IFM, I didn't have much work experience, so I think that gave me a good platform to focus on, like new skill development around how to interact professionally with people, how to produce deliverables on time, and these are like critical skill sets which you will require irrespective of whichever field you are choosing post IFM. And also the coursework and the assignments they help me polish my basic skills on reading, speaking, writing, etc. When I moved to Terry, I did a wide variety of work, but probably the most striking one would be working a lot on instrumentation, on air quality instrumentation, especially focusing on black carbon. So that was something that was a niche area for me in some ways. And I have not really been trained in that area, but I think one of the key skills that you pick up professionally is how to learn on the job and learn it quickly, and I think that has served me well. Um, in terms of milestone, I think at Terry I got the Roll of Honor, which supposedly they give every year to less than 1% of the employees for supposedly outstanding achievement. I don't exactly know how much of that was truly outstanding, but anyways, I got that. When I moved to UBC, I went there on a fellowship by the Canadian government to study atmospheric aerosols, but I moved pretty drastically, I'll say, from atmospheric aerosols to behavioral psychology, and I ended up doing my PhD on the behavioral psychology of cooking energy transitions in rural India. Now I'm at Columbia University, and I'm now doing host of pretty multidisciplinary work focusing on epidemiology, some atmospheric physics, and of course, a lot of work around policy issues.
That's really nice, sir. Uh, my next question is, what is the most satisfying part of your current role?
Okay, so I am currently working as a postdoc in a project which looks at household air pollution in Ghana, and for this particular project, just give me a second. My screens are distracting me. Um, I think there are two things which are pretty novel or interesting, may say. One is that I'm simultaneously working on three projects with very different domains. Like I'm working currently on a Gaussian plume distribution model based community level pollution tracking, which is pretty much in the domain of atmospheric physics. I'm also working on linking solid fuel exposure, which is like cooking fuel like firewood and crop residue, and linking it to cardiovascular outcomes in rural women in Ghana, which again is kind of a domain of epidemiology. And I'm doing a policy analysis on Ghana's. They are doing a new project on LPG or liquefied petroleum gas, their recirculation model. So I'm looking into their um, uh, the pros, the cons, the challenges that they're going to have in terms of introducing this new policy. and which is kind of more traditional social science based policy analysis. So I think very rarely does any academic program structure allow such level of flexibility of doing very different three types of things while holding a singular appointment. And I think that is a really a kind of a unique opportunity which scholars rarely get. Also, the project which I'm working is called Columbia World Projects. It has a dual leadership structure where I have an academic PI, where papers and are kind of the base policy expectation, are kind of the core academic outputs which is expected. On the other hand, I have a very policy oriented leadership who only care about policy changes that is actually happening on the ground. So I have to meet both academic as well as policy change expectations, which is a tough task, but which also is a very unique to have in a university settings generally.
Um, the best, who were your best senior faculties at IAFM? And like, can you share some memorable tidbits with them or in IAFM that happened with you?
Okay, memorable. Okay, I think the most memorable one was that I published a case study while I was a student at IFM, and I got $350, which was a huge money for me in those days. As a perennially cash-strapped student, that was a princely sum for me. So that was definitely a kind of really a memorable event in that ways. Also, mm, yeah, during our final placement season, though I was the summer uh, internship and fieldwork coordinator, I was in charge of picking up one top recruiter, like who was a star recruiter that time, Olam International. And I overslept that morning, and people were like really tense. Abhishek, get up and go to the airport. If you are going to miss it, I will kill you. My roomie was Rishi Prakash. Do you know Rishi Prakash?
Uh, no, sir.
From the 18 batch, okay, PFM 2005-7 batch. He had the perfect attendance record in the history of IFM, like full 100%. I, on the other hand, I was, let's say, not. I didn't have the best records for attendance, so we were always shown as the contrasting pair with the as roommates. Um, yeah. So I think I think these are kind of really fine moments at IFM for me.
Who or what are the biggest drivers in your career? What would be your advice to freshers and IFM graduates who are looking to choose similar sectors or roles?
The focus must be on skills. If you get marks, that's great. If you don't get marks, you will still survive if you have great skills. I can assure you some of the top performing people in my batch, my senior batch, my junior batch, were not people who necessarily achieves great marks. Though of course there were toppers who were doing great, who are doing great, but fundamentally the most important thing that will be critical in your professional career success will be your skills of networking, your skills of communication, how good you are able to grasp a topic easily. Subject knowledge will not matter 10 years down the line. No one is going to care whether in subject X you scored 60% or 80%. But if you, in that process of learning about that subject, if you learn how to speed read, if you learn how to synthesize arguments, if you learn how to clearly articulate your thoughts on that, these are the skills that is going to ultimately pay you in the long run. So when you're focused in terms of doing your assignments, in terms of thinking about a thing, looking at the marks, and this is someone, I'm saying this as someone who is in academia at this point of time. The marks is kind of way overvalued than it actually should be in the long run.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really a great piece of advice. Coming on to the last question, As an alumnus, what's your advice to freshers or those who are joining IAFM to get the best out of the 2 years of their MBA?
I would say that try to move out of your comfort zone always. That is going to help you in the long run. If you have a choice of choosing, say, with whom you want to do a group assignment, if a teacher gives you a choice, don't try to always say, okay, let's do it with my friends, my work will be easy, we have two great guys in the team, so my life will be easy. It's not going to help you in the long run, because you will not always in your professional settings get two friends who are going to take the overload, the load of work. So the comfort zone can be very alluring in the short run, but it is not going to help you at all in the long run. You rather use this opportunity at IFM for in 2 years. Try to work with you should also try to work with batchmates who you feel are distant, or with whom you don't even have great personal equations, because in professional environment you invariably have to work at some point of time with someone whom you personally don't like, but you have to work with that person, but you have no choice really. So why not start inculcating that habit of managing your personal feelings, expectations, etc., and balancing with the professional expectations. The more you practice and the more you hone this particular skill, I think it will be very useful in the long run. Also, when you are in class, try to value your teachers. It's very, very important. So attend classes seriously to learn. See, I assure you, marks is an add-on. If you get good marks, it's great. If you don't get good marks, you still survive, provided you learn. And sometimes I hear these off comments from some students that that, oh, some teachers have, we don't have great teachers. There's a mixed caliber and quality of issue in terms of the quality of teachers. I assure you that you will always find some good and some not so good teachers in every institution, including Ivy Leagues. I guarantee you that. But whatever you have here, get the best out of it in terms of learning and picking up stuff, how to do it. For example, I have attended conferences globally and I've attended classes taught by leading scholars, but very few can match the tenor, the tone, the structure of CSR sir's class. Learn from it. Again, MMY sir's, his marketing course, I promise you, it's one of the most updated you will find globally. And I have recently kind of reviewed the courses of IFM with some of the global benchmarks. Uh, and also you should try to build rapport with your teachers, not just for some bonus points for the next assignment, or some help with the term paper, not like that, but they're great advisors forever. Like even today I can WhatsApp Suprema ma'am for any professional advice, and I'll get her blessings and inputs within 24 hours. So the more you grow in your career, the more you will appreciate your teachers. So learn this now, that you have an access to an asset. Build upon it, use it, and spend your time judiciously. Also, finally, I'll say that keep an open mind. Avoid trying to be too opinionated in every matter. Like, there will be different values, there will be different interpretations of values. So, the more you embrace that, I think the more it will serve you well in your future career.